Yes, lads, what is going on? Welcome to Season 4, Episode 19 of The Running Irishman. In this episode, we are joined by the one, the only, Nick Griggs. If you're from Ireland and you watch athletics, you know who Nick Griggs is. If you're from outside of Ireland and you watch athletics, you also know who Nick Griggs is. Nick Griggs is the second fastest under-20 miler of all time. He also placed second in the European Cross Country Championships in Turin in this year, only a few weeks ago now, and barely missing out on first place. He also is the juvenile 3K and 1500 meter champion. He's also a Puma sponsored athlete and much more. Nick Griggs is not only is he a great athlete, he's also a really sound lad. In this episode, we talk about everything from his early days in athletics to his quick progression to his breakthrough year breakthrough year in training over COVID, and then his 2021 breakthrough season, where he ran for Ireland in his first European cross country championships in Dublin, and where the team got second, and a lot more. So it's a really great episode. Before we jump in, I just want to thank everyone for the recent support over on Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's been amazing, especially the Donegal Nationals vlog, and as well the episode of the podcast with Sean McGinley. The support has been really great, so I do appreciate it. As well, links to my YouTube are down in, or it's not my YouTube, sorry, to my Instagram are down in the description and the show notes below, depending on where you're listening or watching this episode of the podcast. So make sure to head over there and give me a follow, TheRunningIrishman.official, to be kept up to date on guests and when episodes go live. So it's a great spot to be following, to be up to date on the podcast. But without further ado, I'm really looking forward for y'all to give this episode of the podcast with Nick Griggs a listen. I hope you all enjoy. Alright lads, so I am joined with Nick Griggs. Nick, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. You've been one on my radar for a while to get on the show, so I do really appreciate you coming on, and I'm really looking forward.
No problem, 100%. Pleasure to be here, you know what I mean?
No worries at all. I'm sure, especially people into athletics watching within Ireland, know who you are. But maybe on the slight chance, if people aren't too sure who you are and what you're all about, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, as you said, my name's Nick Griggs. I specialise in 1500 meter, mile, 3K, stuff like that. Bit of long distance running, bit of cross country. So yeah, I'm just looking to get better, looking to improve, and looking to reach the top, as I'm sure everyone is like.
Exactly. No, from the information I have in front of me here, that is the most modest introduction you could have given, especially for what we're going to get into. But I suppose what I do with a lot of my guests is you kind of just start from the start and get into the present day. We're going to briefly do that for you, Nick, just because, especially recently in your career, it's kind of just been a complete breakthrough and taken off in so significantly, which is great to see. So we're just going to start really quickly from the early days of your running and your sporting career, I suppose, kind of how you got into running, and were you always as talented as you are now, or was there maybe a season or a period in your training where things just kind of took off?
Yeah, no, I started running, it was early enough, but again, compared to some lads, some guys start when they're 5 or 6, because their whole family's into it, and then you'll find they might be winning All Ireland titles when they're 12, 13, 14. Then they come to this age where they're not even seniors, they're still only 18 or 19, and they're nowhere to be seen. So yeah, no, I started when I was about 12, maybe, through schools cross country. See, I always say this to anyone that'll listen: schools and schools cross country, schools track, it's a vital part. I don't do it anymore. I'm still in school, but I just focusing on indoors and stuff, so I don't really do cross. But for opportunities for younger ones, it's unbelievable. I wouldn't be sitting here now. I wouldn't be in the position that I am without schools track and schools cross. So yeah, no, I started whenever I was 12, doing I was E district, so district cross country, came second. It was my first ever race. I was like, oh, I might be good at this. And then again, my PE teacher, I was lucky enough, my school, Cookstown High School, my PE teacher was an Ulster champion. I think he was maybe an Irish champion as well in minor or intermediate boys schools, something like that. So he knew what he was doing. I mean, he just told me basically, you're good. But, I was all right. Didn't train at all. So I'd come 5th in Ulster, and then I think I came 18th in Irish or no, was it 22nd in like Irish schools cross country in second year. And I thought at that point, like, oh, that's actually really good. Like 22nd in Ireland. Don't know if I'm ever gonna get better than that. And then, yeah, it's because I wasn't training. You don't realize that other lads are out training 5-6 days a week, even when they're only second year, and you're training no days a week. And I'm just thinking like, oh, we're all obviously equally as talented because we're all probably training like no times a week. But I, had no concept that they were actually training 5-6 days a week, and I was doing nothing. So yeah, and then it's a natural progression from there. I could start training like a day, 2-3 days a week. Kept getting better and better and better until then I started training 6-7 days a week, and then that's where the real progress and like the real achievements started to come through. Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, so once you did start kind of consistently training, when was that first moment in a race maybe, or even within your training, did you realize that you were making that, I don't know if it was a quick progression, or you could maybe that moment even where you just saw progression was being made?
Yeah, no, it was like lockdown, see, so I'd like progressed a wee bit. I joined the club and started training 2 days a week, and then I started seeing like I'd win the Ulster title, and then I'd be like, well, like this is getting quite serious. And then we hit lockdown, had nothing to do, had barely any schoolwork to do. So I was like, oh, I'll probably start training here. But then like the summer of 2020 was kind of interrupted with like COVID, so I got a race twice, but then I pulled my hamstring because I was overtraining so much, like. I was doing my long runs like absolutely flat out. I was doing everything flat out basically except like 2 easy runs a week. But obviously, like I had a coach, but I was more self-coached at that point. Like I was maybe doing a session he gave me, but everything else I was just doing myself. So I was kind of clueless. And then that's the thing, like just watching. That's why even watching YouTube videos and being on Instagram and stuff like that, you do actually learn a lot because I was basically self-coached. And then I'd come to realize I pulled my hamstring. I was like, right, you need to slow down here. So then watching YouTube, watching other stuff, I started to get a bit more sensible with it, but still it was nothing like extraordinary. And then again, I just because we are like races, I didn't race from like September 2021 till maybe no 2020 until May 2021. There was a whole 9 month period. There was no cross, there was no indoors, there was no nothing. So it was literally just 9 months of train flat out. And then I remember I did like 2 time trials around 8:20 on the track, and then around 14:25 or something on the roads for 5k, and went into a meet in Belfast. I tried getting myself into the areas, even though I didn't have a 5k PB because I'd never ran one, but I just done that time trial, and then they were like, they were basically like, nah, not at all, because like my PBs were too flat and 4:12 for 15, so they were like, well, you're no way you can run 8:20 and 14:25, but I managed to scam my way into that area somehow, and then yeah, it was that race around 14-15, and realized like this, like I actually do have talent, and I actually am quite good. So yeah.
See, it's just from listening to your progression there, and then now that the level you're at, it's mad how like the margins in terms of times are so small within running, but the progression that you kind of just explained to us there is like, from everyone that I've had on the podcast, realistically, it's nothing like I've ever heard before. Anyway, from going to maybe training 2 to 3 times a week, to then doing a 5k, to running sub 15 in 5k, and to now where you are, it's just and I know even like on the world stage and the European stage, because I know we're as Ireland, we're just a little island, and then you get athletes like yourself who start running on the biggest stage and start running the fastest times ever. It's kind of hard to believe, but when you do break it down like you just did there, it kind of sets it into realization, I suppose, to how fast and how quickly you've gotten to the level that you are at. So I suppose then when you start seeing, running sub 15 in 5k, and your progression, I know you mentioned it's only been since lockdown and coming out of lockdown, has that again just driven on your career forward even more?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like as you were saying there, there's if you can like envision that progression, it was kind of like I was probably training 2 or 3 times a week going into lockdown. But even then, it was just sessions, so I had really like no aerobic base at all. But if you can imagine that, like imagine the amount of talented, like unbelievable guys. Not like even in Ireland, like there's probably so many guys that are so talented, but just never have that opportunity. Like I was so fortunate lockdown came about because then it allowed me to start training like every day. And then by the time we came out of it, it was like a routine. I'm like, well, I'm training every day anyway. I'm not going to go back to 2-3 days a week here. So yeah, no, I think there's a serious amount of talent. It's the same in any sport, but there's a serious amount of talent even in this country that's probably missed out on because people never get the chance to realize their potential. So no, I'm just lucky, as you said, that we had lockdown, and then I came out of that. And once you start running good times, doing time trials and stuff, and you're like, oh, mate, like these are actually good times. Like I was always into it. I was always looking up like Irish records and this and that. Like that's always been something that pushed me on. It's like in lockdown, and I think the Irish youth record was like 8:18, and I did like a solo time trial around 8:20, and I was like, right, if we have a track season, I'm gonna break that record, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I've always been motivated by like medals and times and stuff, and it sounds quite bad whenever you break it down. Like people want the answer of it's all internal. You know, like love the sport. I do love the sport. Like I love running, but for me, what really motivates me on is winning and being the best. Like so, it's just different, I guess, for people. But that's probably what pushes me on. Like,
but for an athlete like yourself, who every time you step on the line, there's a high chance that you are the fastest guy on the line. So it would be silly to not think, hold on a second, I'm going to go for the win here. I'm going to go for this record, that record. As much as you said there, yeah, you love the sport, but being, as fast and as talented as you are and kind of the high your career is on at the moment, it wouldn't, it would just be bringing yourself down to not be stepping on the line and going, hold on, I'm going for the win here.
No, that's it, exactly. But sometimes I think people get too bogged down in that. Like an example, last year, Eurocross, like, there was so much hype. It came off like a breakthrough summer. No one had ever heard of me before, and then broke a few Irish records and won Europeans. And it was like one Irish cross as well. And everyone was like, oh, this kid could maybe like win on home soil in Dublin. And obviously that puts it into my head that I'm like, well, I can win this. But realistically, it was never going to happen. But like I fed into that almost like that hype, and I thought I'm going to go out and win this. I ended up coming 16th, which is a far cry away from the victory. Like, but yeah, no, that's it. And then the contrast between that, like, and I remember going in that race thinking I have to go out and at least try and win this. I have to be up at the front, and that completely detrimented me. Like I ended up just blowing up, getting a stitch, and my legs were don't gone anyway. So that's not really any excuse. Like I was going backwards in the field anyway. So, but that was me thinking I have to go in and I have to compete and I have to win. Compared to this year, I remember going in and I was like, right, this field is going to be unreal. As long as you can just get yourself up there and just give it everything, because you're not going to go here having trained all year, having trained since August, flat out, making all the sacrifices you do, and just go out and not give it 100%. But it wasn't like the same. It wasn't like the race in Dublin where I was so focused on winning and so focused on like I have to win here. It was more just like I'm going to go out and give them my best shot, and if that makes me up in the leaders or up in the top 5 or vying for a medal, then yeah, that makes it. So, yeah, it's just it's different mindset, and I think people don't take into account the mental aspect of running. Like that's so key, and it's something that it's definitely affected me. Like if you're not mentally right for a race, then you're not going to win. You're not going to run quick. But then when you are mentally right for a race, and everything comes together, it ends up being perfect.
100%. Yeah. Sometimes you can have the race lost before you even start in terms of mental game. So coming from yourself, who's obviously so talented and ran such fast times, kind of hearing that the mental part still plays a big role into your racing is it's good to hear as well, that people need to definitely be aware of that, and it needs to be something that people have in check before racing, if they want to race as well as they can. But obviously in terms of sport, you can win races, you can run fast times, but all in all, people want that professional contract, and you end up this year signing with Puma. Obviously you probably your manager and the guys over at Puma running only know the ins and outs of the contract and whatever, and we will leave it that way, don't worry. But in terms of just getting the contract and kind of what the that means for you as a runner and your career, what's that all about?
Yeah, no, I see even in like the last summer, in July like 2021, I had like a breakthrough year, and there was a few people coming to me, a few agents, offering the world and being like, oh, we can get you this and that, and I was 16 at the time, and I was like, I want to sign with Nike. You hear that like Nike is obviously the big name, and you hear Nike are interested or whatever, and you're like, I'm signing that. I don't care what the money is, I don't care what the terms and conditions are, like I want to sign that. But that's when I needed like a mature head to step back and be like, no, you'll buy your time out, you've still got so much more to give. And no, thankfully my family and my coach Mark were there to tell me you just bide your time. And then it was really we just kind of left it at that. I was still in school, and I was like, oh well, if I sign a pro deal, I'll sign a pro deal. If something right comes up, then something right comes up, and that did happen. After around 356 indoors, everything kind of just exploded. I remember I was in school the next day, and Mark, my coach, texted me and was like, "Yeah, I've like loads of emails from everyone." Because he's not an agent. He was like, he was gonna get contact Ricky Sims from PS Sports to give him a hand, because he's not an agent. He can't cope with all these companies, texting him flat out being like, "Oh, can we secure a service or whatever?" He's just my coach. He's just there to help me train and help me get better. So, yeah, as you said again, I was fortunate enough to sign that, and it's just good. It means like I don't have to get a part-time job or anything. Like all my mates have part-time jobs or all in school, but it means I can do running and schoolwork. I don't have to focus on getting money from an outside source. It can just means that like I can focus more on it, which is nice. So then I have more time to focus in the school or focus in the running, and then a bit more free time on the side as well. So yeah, it's the aim, I think, for anyone who's running is just to get that pro contract. And I think me signing that, hopefully it shows people it's not that unattainable. Like I was just the same as many other athletes out there who are in Irish schools and like in Irish juveniles and stuff. I was just coming up thinking my dream would be to sign a pro contract. My dream would be to win a European medal or European gold. So yeah, that's one thing I want to make. I like to make pretty clear is like it's definitely not impossible. Anyone can achieve it to a certain extent as well. You obviously have to have the talent and the work ethic. But yeah, I don't know. I just like people to dream big, because it is achievable at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, you kind of got lucky with the lockdown, which pushed your
Yeah.
training on forward. There's luck, there's talent, there's hard work in there, and there's a little bit of everything. But if everyone kind of just puts the work in the same way you did, like you mentioned there, it is definitely attainable for many athletes out there. But for Puma specifically, I know you touched on there. Like, oh, everyone hears Nike wants to sign you, and I'd be the same. I'm sure everyone would be the same if they heard Nike wanted to, sponsor you or let you sign a pro contract with them. You'd be 100% on board. But with Puma specifically, again, you don't need to get into specifics of the contract, but them as a brand, and once you put that mature head on and you kind of realize what was best for you, what was it about Puma that allowed you to sign for them?
No, as you say, like everyone would say Nike, like realistically, you know what I mean? It's the big brand that everyone knows, and it's so big in running as well. Like there's so many brands, or there's so many guys, sorry, who are just with Nike, and that's just the stereotypical answer is like you would want to sign with Nike. But again, when you get a bit older and you mature, and like people or Puma is starting to become a really big brand in terms of running as well. You know what I mean? So they're signing a load of distance guys. They've already got a load of sprinters. People like Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. I'm not sure, but Aline Thompson and like Sharika Jackson, Duplantis, a load of pole vaulters, people like that. Like they're
And
huge
sure, the GOAT
athletics.
as well, Usain Bolt.
Oh yeah, how could I forget? How could I forget the GOAT? Like, that's what I mean. They've always been huge in terms of athletics, but not really like a big distance running force and like a big distance running
Yeah.
presence. So I think now it's good that they're signing a lot of distance runners, and that's one thing that I really wanted to buy into as well. That they said that they were like, they're trying to make Puma not just a sprinting or a jumping type of brand. They want to widen their horizons and make it into like a big distance running company as well. And like that's they've done that, and they've done that by improving their shoes and improving the technology and stuff like that. And that's definitely something I had to think about. Before I signed, I was like, I'm gonna need samples and like to test out the shoes, because you don't want to sign. Because I'm being, in all honesty, I'd never worn a pair of like Puma running shoes before I signed, so I was just like, I want to try out the shoes and see what they're like. So I'm not just signing with a brand who I don't know what their stuff's like. But you know what I did? And like I tried their spikes out, and I was remember thinking these are actually unbelievable. Like I tried them on and thought these are better than Dragonflies. And I'm not just saying that, that's
Yeah.
just my personal opinion. You don't have to believe it or anything. But yeah, it's good that they're just making such big improvements and big waves in terms of middle distance running. So hopefully we'll see a few more signees, and then they're definitely starting to make more noise in the distance running community as well. So that was something it was influenced my thinking, was just how much improvement that they've made over such a short period of time in terms of like their technology and their spikes and stuff like that.
Definitely, and as someone like yourself who's before signing the Puma contract has had the opportunity to run in Nike spikes and Nike running shoes, and now you're kind of full time in Puma at the moment. So is there too much speculation, I suppose, around the advantage athletes have when running in Nike shoes, or as an athlete who's ran in both sides and now is fully committed to Puma, is it not as serious as people are saying, or is there not as much of an advantage in Nike spikes as people may be talking about?
No, I don't think there's that much of an advantage at all. Like, that's something that I definitely thought about, was like, right, everyone knows that Dragonfly is the best spike. So I remember thinking I need to try these spikes on to see if that's a myth and to see if Puma can compete. So I think, like, there was a time there, maybe 2017, 2018, where 100% I would agree. And I think every big sports brand would agree that Nike were like innovating with like the OG, like Flyknit, Vaporfly and stuff like that. Like, they were the brand everyone looked to. Everyone was like, they are creating huge noise, and they're making, like, if you were a Nike athlete back then, I think the difference definitely would be noticeable, because other brands hadn't yet caught up, and other brands hadn't yet like been able to look at Nike's ideas and like create responses. But now, like 3, 4, 5 years into that, all the hype with carbon fiber plate shoes and stuff, I think that, having tried out both, I generally think overall Pumas are better. Their easy run shoes are really nice. Their spikes are really nice, and then they have the, well, like, not the, like, their distance run, not spike, what would you call it? Like their super shoe in the road.
Yeah.
It's like the Fast R Elite. It's unbelievable. Like, I wore it yesterday for a progression because I've got like a parking tomorrow. I was like, I'm gonna put this on to preserve my legs, and let my legs feel great. Like, so, yeah, I don't think that there's a difference at all. I think people are just, but it serves to like memory. Like, people obviously are just used to Nike being the best, and they don't want to like accept, that other brands are coming. Not even Puma, you've got Adidas and New Balance. Everyone's evolving, like Asics. So it's good to see, because it means there's a choice. There's not just a choice of Nike. Like, back in the day, whenever as I say, I was like running Irish schools and stuff in 2018, 19, it felt like everyone had, like, I don't remember seeing anyone without a pair of Nike spikes. Like, everyone had them. But now there's a lot more diversity. There's a lot more range from a load of brands. So yeah, it's good to see that a lot of our brands are getting the chance to prove themselves as well.
Definitely, no. It's great to hear from yourself as well, who's like I said, worn the two spikes, and I think there's maybe a lot of placebo in there as well, where there's the hype on Instagram and YouTube and things like that around Nike shoes, and it's obviously not bashing Nike in any way, but it is good to hear as well that signing with other brands like yourself, Puma, who signed with Puma, who's still running at the highest level for your age, and while wearing Puma. So hopefully for yourself and for Puma in the future, that will allow them to sign more great athletes.
100% is right. Like, I like, obviously the spikes do make a difference, but at the end of the day, when you're going between a pair of Vaporflies or Adidas spikes or the Puma Fast R spikes, there's going to be minimal difference. At the end of the day, it's like those little small 0.01%. At the end of the day, it's all about yourself, your training, being injury free, stuff like that, and getting on the line healthy and mentally right as well. That's what's going to make like the real difference in terms of your racing. And those other wee things, I honestly don't think make that much of a difference at all. If you get the line with your everything in check, you're going to run well no matter what shoes you're wearing, realistically.
And since signing the pro contract, has anything changed for you as a runner, or the way you train? Are you more conservative now to try to be injury free? Has anything changed in your racing and your racing schedule? Has anything changed since you signed the pro contract?
Not really, no. Like, if I'm being perfectly honest, it's just I just run in Puma shoes and Puma gear now, which is lovely. They've got some nice gear, some nice competition kit and clothes. So yeah, that's the nice thing, is it's allowed me to stay. Like, there's no real loads of requirements about me needing to go anywhere, do anything. It's more just like, it means I can just focus on school and just be quiet with running and just continue grinding by myself for a while. But yeah, it's relatively the same. Like, the way we train anyway, it's not unbelievably intense. Like, my coach, he appreciates the value of longevity. Like, so yeah, it's just everything's realistically stayed the same. It's just nice that I can have a company and have a brand here there to support me and give me something back for all the hard work. So it's nice that you can also go out and race in their kit and support them and try and make more people want to buy them and influence people to buy their stuff as well.
Definitely, 100%, and no better Irishman than yourself to do it at the with the way you've been running lately. And I suppose that kind of leads into I have a little bit of I suppose a resume in front of me of your running career, the achievements you have and the times you've ran. And one I want to jump into is your sub 4 minute indoor mile. And become the second fastest under 20 miler ever. Kind of what is that like? Even maybe just hearing that. Obviously you want to go for that number one position. And there's still definitely time left to do so. But just for now, hearing second fastest miler under 20 miler ever. Kind of what is that like now? And looking back, going into that race in the NIA Live games, and coming out, going into that race though, was that the plan to go sub 4 and to rank so highly on the all-time list?
Yeah, no, it's mental. Like I remember, Mark telling me I was running the race, and I was like, because I do like to look at the stats and be like, right, if I ran this, where would that place me? Type of thing. Like I do admit it, I just like to look at that because it gives you like a bit of motivation. But no, even still saying it now, it still hasn't sank in, because it's like, in my opinion, I'm still living at home with my parents. It's just like I'm just a normal guy who enjoys running and who just wants to do well. So to hear like European record second all time, it's kind of like, that's not me. Like I'm just a normal like type of guy. But yeah, the goal going into the race was to go sub 4, get as close to it as possible. And I didn't realize Andrew Koskinen was racing until the car journey on the way down. My dad said to me, he was like, see, 353 miler is in here. And I was like, what? It's like, there's only 2 guys this could be, because Koskinen and Luke McCamp overran 353 over in, I think it was New York in February or something. So I thought, there's no way. It's like, there's absolutely no way. I was like, there's no way my coach hasn't told me this. And I texted him, I was like, is Koskinen in this race? And he's like, oh yeah, I didn't tell you, like, but like, oh, class. And I think I signed at the school as well. I was like going straight down from a school day to race an Olympic semi-finalist, like, so.
Just a usual day.
I know, just so I remember thinking, right, I can go sub 4, but I can't even remember the race. It was one of those like races that just goes absolutely perfectly, and I just remember sticking to him, being like, right, just stay on his back. And then we got like 800, and I was like, right, just try and stay as close to him as possible. You're kind of clear of everyone else. And then after about 400 to go, I was like, there's no way. It's like, there's no way I'm going to beat this. Like, I'm not going to do this. And then I remember looking at the clock, and I was like, I was at 3:27 or 3:26, and I thought, as long as I don't absolutely die, I'm going to run something insane here. And then I remember crossing the line, and I didn't win. But like, I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I seen 36, and I was like, I actually just ran 3:56 here. And the feeling was just like, I can't even describe it. I didn't believe it at all. I was like, what has just happened? And then I remember going on my cool down, because one of my mates, he does a bit of running as well, he just came down. He gave me a lift home from school because I had to sign out. And he was doing like work experience. He was in uni in like a school across the road. So he drove me home, and he came down just to watch me and my dad. I remember I was in the cool down, and he was just jogging with me. And I was like, what has just happened? I was like, am I dreaming? Like, that can't be real. But again, it just shows what can happen when you get into a race with someone as good as Andrew. So again, I have to be thankful for him, and I owe him so much for that race. Like, so yeah, it's still to this day, it seems unbelievable.
Definitely, and again, you're thanking Andrew, and Andrew's obviously he maybe pulled, you were not pulled along by Andrew, because you ran your own race and you were up there, you were in contention for the win, but having him there, like you mentioned, definitely did allow you to run as fast as you did. But now is that number one position on the cards?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's 3:55, so hopefully I can get it in. I think I'm running a mile indoors. I think it's they've changed the name from NIA Live. It's like a track and field live, I think now. So hopefully, I think there's a mile there. It might be the end of February. So hopefully we can get a good field assembled for that. And who knows? Hopefully I can go for that 3:55. But again, it'll be very hard to do. It'll need to be a fast pace, and it'll need to be in very good shape. But that'll be one of the goals for indoors.
Definitely. And what's has your indoor training kicked off now? Since the Europeans, have you been in up in Abbottstown and any of the indoor track doing some indoor training? And then what is obviously going for that 355 which would be amazing. And then obviously are there some national medals on the line as well for indoor this year?
Yeah, no, I've started doing track work. Like we don't really go there because there's no indoor track up in the north, so we don't really get a chance. And traveling 2 hours to Dublin is it's not realistic for a session. So we just do stuff on the normal 400 track at Mary Peters. It's not really a big deal. So yeah, that started off. We did a few 600s and a few 200s the other day. So definitely have to work on that speed work a bit because it's always a shock when you go from like grass and tempos and stuff in the track work. It's a shock to the legs. I think like my legs, we were going like 65s and 64s, and I was like, this feels absolutely awful. So, yeah, no, I'll have to get some more speed work in. And as you said, going into indoors, hopefully just a few records in the line. And then the big one will be, other than that mile, will be if I can make European senior indoors. That'll be my first senior vest. So, yeah, that would be unbelievable to try to get on the team like that and make a senior European team. It would stand me some good experience as well. So I think they're in March, and the standards are actually very quick. There's 352, I think, for the B standard, and 752, sorry, and 744 for the A and B standards. So yeah, hopefully I can get there for the 3K and pick up a few points because there's something about that quota system. I honestly don't know how it works myself, but I know you can qualify for points and stuff. So hopefully I can at least get that B standard and go under 750. And then I think the European 3K indoor junior record, Joel Ibler-Lalesso holds it, 748, I think. He broke it last year. So that's another, there's just obviously wee side goals. So yeah, it's exciting times. Hopefully I can get that and then get my first senior vest as well, which would be unbelievable.
100%. And but as an under 20, as an under 20 at the age of 16, you were the first Irish under 20 to go under 8 minutes in the 3K. Once again at the age of 16, like you mentioned, now you're aiming for kind of the senior vests. A bit like I suppose Jakob Ingebrigtsen, as a young athlete, kind of mixing it in with the pros and with the senior athletes. But going back to the age of 16, being the first Irish under 20 to break 8 minutes in the 3K with a time of 7:53, as well to take home gold at the same European competition. That must have been incredible. And was that your first European medal?
Yeah, no, it was. See, I had like that breakout, so I only really was heard of in May after winning running 14:15. It was the Irish under 18 record, or I think it still is, but it was at the time anyway. And then going straight, it was only 2 months later going into those Europeans. I really had no experience. Like I was still I only raced 3 times that season. 2 Irish under 20 champs, and then that one Belfast for a 5K. And my brother died as well, so it was like a mad time, and I fully can't even remember. Probably I was only 16. It was only when I first started to really get heard of, and then that something so tragic happened, and then just like 4-5 weeks later, having to go I'd never even left the UK before. I'd never been anywhere outside of England, Scotland, Wales, or down south. So to go to Estonia with a whole full team of people who I didn't know at 16 for European champs and to win, looking back on it now, I don't know how I did it. So it's just something you have to face. I remember being quite nervous because I didn't know anyone on the team really. I'd obviously heard of a few guys. I knew Callum because he's from the north, and I train him now, but I didn't train him at the time. And I obviously knew Abdel and Dean had raced him, but I'd only raced him once. I was fairly new, so yeah, that was probably still my best achievement, just because given everything, given the circumstances and all, it was just something unbelievable that I don't think any feeling can ever come close to. It's quite a special one.
And then from that, at the age of 16 to now, going for the senior standards at a European level to get your first Irish senior vest this year. what does that look like? What does that feel like in the sense where only 2 years ago, 1 year ago, you were going from 16 breaking, under 20 Irish records to now going for the senior vest. How does that feel? Kind of looking back.
Yeah, no, it's a weird one because the progression happens so naturally. Like you don't really see it happening. And then I switched coaches after that year. So now I was coached back in Mid Ulster by Barry Holmes, but I was kind of, as I said, I was coaching myself a wee bit because I think he's 80 now, so he's getting on and he's been doing it for 60 years. So he then got like a coach's medal after I won in Estonia the European under-20. So it was lovely to like leave. I didn't want to leave, but he texted my mum or whatever and said, look, I don't think I can take Nick any further. So it was lovely to like leave him with that medal. So now he has that medal, and I hope he likes it, like, because it's something to give something back to him. Like he's done 60 years of service to athletics. So yeah, it was nice to give him that. But then the progression happens so naturally, under Mark. He just makes it so easy. All you need to do is do the training, stay focused, stay dedicated, and like the progression happens naturally. So yeah, and people always say about like just because you're successful as a junior, doesn't mean you're going to be successful as a senior. And it's quite frustrating when you're 16 or you're 17 because you're like, well, I haven't had the chance yet. Like you can't really say that. Like, but you understand what people mean. Like it's obviously just because you're good now doesn't mean you're going to be good in 5 years. So yeah, hopefully making that first senior team and getting that first Irish senior best. Fingers crossed if I can do it, it'll just prove to me that I'm on the right track and that I can be a successful senior, when the time comes.
Definitely. And in terms of making the B standard this year, what would that mean then for your senior European I suppose career kicking off this year to make the B standard compared to the A standard? Would it be like, how would it then translate into you getting to maybe indoor European Championships this year?
Yeah, no, the standards are really good. Like it's 752.5 and then 744, but like I've ran 753 and I know like I should be able to run under 750, but again, it just depends on the racing circumstances. I have to keep working hard. Nothing's ever taken for granted, but I think I can run that. So hopefully I can make that team, and then again, once you get in there, it's just that'll be the nice thing. Hopefully, if I can make it, it'll just be like there's no pressure at all. You're just in that race because you're only still at 17, 18. It's like I'm not a senior yet, I'm still a junior, so there's no expectations or pressure. If I go out in the first round, go out in the semi-final, and I come dead last, I'll obviously be a wee bit disappointed, but it's like, it's not a big deal. I've still got 10, 15 years at that level to keep improving and keep getting better. But again, once you're there, anything can happen. So it would just be about, if I did make the team, it would just be about enjoying the experience, really. If I'm completely, no expectations or anything, because you have guys like Jakob Ingebrigtsen maybe racing, so you obviously know you're not going there to fight for a medal or to even look for a final. You're just going there to pick up experience.
Exactly, but then hopefully then down the line in the future, as you get older and more experienced and inevitably faster, you will be aiming for that final race, and guys like Jakob Ingebrigtsen and aiming for medals, because if you're doing it now at this age, there's no reason as your training and your career progresses you won't be doing it as you get into your 20s and so on. So it'd be great to like you said, even just this year, just getting onto the team to then see where that brings you in terms of experience down the line. Yeah. So we'll be hoping. And I was looking at even the standards for the World Championships this year for the 10K. It's just under 28 minutes. I think it's like 27:30ish. So the standards every year, whether it's on a European or a world stage, is they're just getting faster and faster. And I think I was talking to lads on my team. No Irishman has ever really gotten around in the 10K anyway, around the 27:30ish mark. So for like yourself, athletes like yourself, and being an advocate to show that our athletes can run really really fast times and compete on the larger stage is it's great to have to push the sport forward. And even when you went over to the World Championships this year, is that kind of the next step for you? Obviously, you mentioned getting the under 20 European vest this year for a senior European vest this year, but kind of the world stage and under 20 level, is that the next step for you?
Yeah, no, that's right. See, I've been unlucky with my birthday. Like I only turned 18 there a few days ago, so I've only got one more year at under 20. So that's me kind of done for I had that one World Juniors, and I was a wee bit disappointed because going into the start of the season I wanted the medal, but it didn't happen. I just wasn't in the shape, and it was at altitude. I just wasn't prepared, and the guys were just much better than me, like all the Ethiopians and the Kenyans, the Ugandans and stuff. So yeah, fair play to them. But again, that was another great experience and stand me in good stead. And it just sometimes you need those knockbacks like that or European cross last year to make you realize that you're not maybe in the shape that you thought you were in, or you do need to just get your head screwed back on and focus and get your head in the game type of thing. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Definitely, and I know you mentioned there kind of wanting the your Irish first senior Irish European vest in the coming indoor season, but you've been definitely mixing it up with the senior guys here in Ireland on the track. In the nationals just gone, in the 1500 meters finishing fifth, behind Andrew Costlin and Carl Doyle, obviously where they had their amazing finish to that race, and then just the year prior in 2021, getting gold in the 1500 and 3K. So from now on, is it a case of mixing it up with the seniors in terms of a national level?
Yeah, no, in terms of national level, definitely, you always want to be up there mixing it with seniors. And last year was my first year really that I could get a proper track season against seniors to race against them and to race against guys like Coscoran and Luke McCann and Cal Doyle and Shane Bracken and stuff like that. It's unreal to have the opportunity to race against them. And like, I'm sure I'll admit it and sure they'll admit it, got the better of me last year quite easily, but that's just about they're good 5-10 years older. So yeah, it was good to get in those races. And at the time you're disappointed, you're like fifth at nationals, like I want to be doing better than that, you want to be winning. But as a 17-year-old and you're still have other focuses and stuff, I wasn't too disappointed. So that'll definitely be what it's about this year, is to try and mix it up on a national scene as well. But I'm just going to try and enjoy my last year of juniors on like a European world type of level. I'm going to try and enjoy being a junior as long as I can, because the senior age group can be it can be very daunting, and a lot of guys can get lost almost, and just it swallows a lot of people up, definitely. So it'll be good to focus on my last year of juniors, and try and just get as many records and medals as I can.
Definitely. And in terms of racing in the national seniors again this year, whether it's the 3K or the 1500, what's the main goal if you're taking your fifth place last year into consideration, but as well as the great season you had this year? Best case scenario going into the senior national 1500 meters this year, what's best case scenario?
You don't know. See, it's so hard to answer a question like that in December, because I could go in, and I remember last year saying at the start of the year, if I had run 3:43 or 3:44 for 1500, I would have been absolutely buzzing. But then I said that in like October when I was laying out my goals, and then I ran 3:43 indoors and then 3:56. So then I was like, right, I want to revise those goals. So I think I can run 3:38 or something, and I didn't. I came nowhere near it. So it's so hard to know right now. But again, to medal would be unbelievable, because the standard of 1500 running in this country right now is so good. But I'm trying to step up, and I'm trying to be one of those guys who's competing for the national title and competing for those medals, even if I'm still young. But I'll just have to see how the season goes realistically, and hopefully I can just be in good shape to mix it up come nationals with some of the best guys here, even in Europe, like Coscoran making that 1500 meter European final. So it just shows some of our seniors as well as our juniors are just so good, and it's so promising, for the future.
Definitely, but hopefully win the indoors this year. You'll be mixing it up as teammates with people like Coscoran on the senior team this year. But
yeah, definitely, and learning from guys like that as well. To have so much experience, and they're not all themselves. Like they're Luke McCann, I think they're only 24, 25, but they still have so much experience in the senior level. So to be around those guys, even at Eurocross there, and to learn from them, is something valuable as well, I think.
100%, yeah. No matter kind of how the race goes, realistically, just racing with them guys and getting the senior feel will carry you a long way, and hopefully that translates into your indoor season this year. But kind of I want to take a step back, only I suppose a few weeks in terms of this cross country season.
Yeah.
which was compared to last year, which was a great cross country season. From the outside looking in, anyway, with European cross country championships that were in Dublin, it was a great event. And people definitely weren't left kind of disappointed this year after the great year last year with both your performances and all of Ireland's team's performances at the European cross country championships and as well as the national championships this year. But for you personally, talk us through the race in Donegal and kind of I suppose that kicked things off for your European campaign this year. That race in Donegal where you got the under 20 the junior national champion. You became the junior national champion after a great battle with Dean Casey in Donegal. What was that race like?
Yeah, no, cross country, it's not my forte. I just don't really enjoy it. Like, I actually quite enjoyed that race. That was probably one of the most enjoyable races of ever for cross country, to be honest. But for me, cross country is always just to, like, it builds strength. I actually do like doing it. It's like, it's building strength, but when it comes to race time, it's not my scene. I just don't really like it. I get stuck in the mud. I'm just not great at it. But thankfully, it wasn't really a muddy course. It was flat enough. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that race. And as you said, Dean, he's always an unbelievable competitor. So it was actually like a carbon copy of the race in Santry a year before. It was just everyone was out hard, and then me and Dean kind of pulled away. But Dean made that move first, to be fair to him. I was in behind Sean McGinley, and then I seen Dean he'd put about 5 meters on him, and I thought, well, I'm gonna have to go now here. So yeah, I went with Dean, and then, as I said, my plan was just to sit on him the entire time, and when you don't need to do any more than that, and if you believe that you are quick enough at the end and you have the speed and the strength, my whole race plan was just just try and feel as comfortable as possible the entire race, which fortunately I managed to feel very comfortable like the entire race. And then again, it was just trying to learn the course as well, because I never raced there before, so I was trying to know like when's the best opportunity to kind of pull away or put a bit of a surge in. So yeah, I managed to do that around the first few laps and realize when are you gonna properly kick, or when are you gonna put a wee surge in. And then I just managed to sit on Dean, and coming up the last hill I put a wee bit of a acceleration in, and then he fought well, but down the last hill I knew it was clear, so I just took a wee look over, and I enjoyed the home straight. I think I celebrated 100 meters early, but when you have that confidence, and like I knew I'd pulled away, so I thought there's nothing wrong with celebrating a wee bit early. You don't mind. So yeah, that race went pretty much perfectly to plan, and it put me in good stead for Europeans a few weeks later.
100%. And from being at the Europeans last year, I suppose it was 100% on the cards this year to follow up and then even make an improvement to your European, I don't know, individual placement. Unfortunately, we'll get into it now in a second in terms of European. Unfortunately, there wasn't an improvement to the team placement, but all the lads and yourself had an amazing race and amazing day. But then, I know I asked you this in Donegal after the race, but from Donegal to the European Cross Country Championships in Turin, what was that turnover like? Was there any time for rest and recovery, or was it kind of just keeping it steady, staying on top of fitness?
Yeah, no, again, it was just straight back in the work. Realistically, it's not what you can't really take much time off. So no, I didn't get any time off. It was just back in the straight training, because nationals, as much as it's important, it was like not a tune-up race. It's just get yourself there, secure your seat in the plane, try and get the win and defend the title, and then just focus on European. So yeah, I got another 2 weeks, solid 2 weeks in of training, and then I was just realistically relax and prepare that last week leading into Europeans on the Sunday.
And then the conditions heading over to Europeans. I was talking to Sean McGinley there last week or the week before, and even Ephraim Gide on my team, Clonliffe Harriers, they're all saying conditions heading over to Turin were far from ideal in terms of weather conditions, and then the planes being delayed, and then lack of sleep. Talk us through your experience, outside the race, just even getting over to Turin, what that was like, and maybe the impact that had on the race.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one because, as you say, like it was it's probably some of the worst traveling conditions I've ever had to deal with in terms of like lack of sleep and all that. But like you can't really blame Athletics Ireland. It's not really their fault. Like they can't help the fact that the runway is icy and that the planes aren't running, and the fact that the people in the plane aren't cooperating or whatever. So yeah, we got over at, I think took off at 11:30 on Friday, and we got into the hotel by like 4, half 4 a.m. But funny story, actually, I don't know if I should be admitting this one, but we'll keep it under wraps. Me and Callum are best mates, like, because we trained together, and also we were rooming together, and there was it was a double bed and there was a bunk bed. So it's 4:30 in the morning, and we're like, well, none of us wanted the bunk bed. We're like, we'll have to have some sort of competition for the double bed. So luckily I brought my Xbox over, and it was 4:30, and like, we might as well play a game here, just to decide who gets the double and who gets the bunk. So after a close contest, after 120 minutes, 3-3, got beat on penalties, so I had to take that bunk bed. Who knows? A bunk bed could have been a difference. You never know.
So you can under everything, you can maybe blame Callum for that one, or maybe your FIFA ability.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was right.
No.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it was a really good trip. Like, it was just unfortunate with the travel and stuff. Even on the way home, we kind of predicted, like, we can't, like, and we're lucky we actually got to land in Dublin at the time we did. We thought it was only delayed once, and on the way over it was delayed like 6 or 9 hours or something. It was brutal. So yeah, we were like, it was just tough, and there's nothing anyone could have done about it. Like, it's out of everyone's control. It was just something that happens in terms of the conditions being awful. And then on the way home as well, like, where we landed maybe 3 a.m, but I already had like a 2-hour drive home anyway, and it was like really, really, really foggy. And like, it was something I've never even like experienced. And my mum was driving home, and like, she was literally had to go like 30 miles an hour because she couldn't see. And I was sleeping because I was absolutely wrecked. And I remember waking up, and we were like 2 thirds of the way home. And I woke up, and I like looked, and I was like, I can't see. Like, how is she driving in that? Like, I can't see a centimeter in front of me. So even then, like, it took us 3 hours to get back just because of that. Because it was not like, it was so foggy. She just had to go so slow. So the whole travel and stuff like that was a bit of a shambles, but again, not really anyone's fault. It's just one of those things that happens, and you have to just adapt and cope with it, even if it's not ideal or not what you want or not what's best. Like,
definitely no, but exactly, you do need to be able to adapt and adjust to these these situations. And in terms of, if you're comparing it to last year, where it was in Dublin and you ended up coming out with a better performance this year individually, I suppose it would be difficult to maybe, blame it on the travelling. As much as it wasn't ideal, in fact it was far from ideal, at least you still got that game of FIFA in. Unfortunately you were demoted to the bunk bed. I seen you're a Liverpool fan, would that be right?
I am, yes, I am.
Go on. I am as well. Were you watching the game last night?
I wasn't even. I seen the highlights though, but I've not that I've fallen out of love with. I used to, like, I've been to Liverpool, watched the games 4 or 5 times. But we've lost. I think we've lost. I've been 4 times. We've lost 3 and drew 1 or something. So, it's not great. But it's just hard to. I need to get back into it. I'll keep telling myself you need to get back into it, but then I'll just find myself busy, and I'll be like, I'll just watch the highlights. So no, that's something. Hopefully when school ends, take a gap year, I can get down on that football again. But we were unlucky last season. Very unlucky last season.
Oh, 100%. I'm the same. Just being busy and things like that. It's hard to find the time to sit down for 90 minutes, even throughout the duration of the World Cup. But this year especially, where the Premier League's kind of off the cards, or nearly more fighting for Champions League football. I'm more just watching the Champions League this year because I suppose that's where we play our best football, and that's where we have the best chance of doing well. So hopefully next year we have a better start to the Premier League, and we'll be back watching that.
Yeah, no, 100%. We always have that. We always have that ability in Europe. I think, like, anytime I watch Liverpool in Europe, it doesn't matter what it is. Remember, even the Barcelona game, I remember I was like sitting in bed, and I was like, we can definitely we can definitely win this. Like, we can definitely win 4-0. Like, I always have that faith whenever Liverpool play in Europe that something special can happen. And it is true. I remember there was like a game, I don't know if you remember, it was 2016 or something, maybe. It was like, it might have been the Europa League semi-final. We didn't even win Europa League. I think we lost in the final, but it was against Borussia Dortmund, and we lost the first leg, and then we went 2-0 down in 10 minutes, like an Aubameyang double. I remember, like, Dejan Lovren scored in the 97th minute or something, and I went absolutely mad. But it's just Liverpool in Europe always seem to pull it out of the bag. So hopefully we can do that this year again.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully our performances in the Premier League don't translate over to
Oh
Europe.
yes.
But like you said, we always have that special moment. I do remember the 2016 game against Dortmund. That was back in the red net days in Anfield.
Dejan's he's a cult hero. Like you can't deny Dejan. Him and Divock Origi are two absolute icons that
Yeah.
should go to history. Like
100%. Icons, I think, is the perfect word, because they've had
100%.
iconic moments, but they
Yeah,
weren't, legends maybe of the club that
yeah.
some other players were. But no, I understand 100% what you mean. It's kind of, at the moment anyway, it's hard to find time, but they'll always have that place in your heart when they're on, and especially in Europe, that you'll be watching them.
100% is right. Like always have to support them some way, one way or another.
Exactly. But yeah, no. Look, we'll jump back, I suppose, maybe to the race itself. We obviously touched on there about the fact that the travel conditions weren't perfect, but then comparing it to Dublin last year, you had a better race. Maybe you could say you had a better race than this year with your, in terms of the position you finished. So it would be hard to fully blame the conditions. Talk to me about the course. Like I mentioned, I was talking to Sean McGinley, and he kind of gave me his opinion on the course. I'd like to get yours. Obviously, you had and actually I was talking to Keelan Kilrehill. He was up in my club there last week. We had our cake race and we had an awards night, and he was up at that. And he was saying, running through the indoor part, it was nice and warm. You nearly didn't want to leave it.
Yeah. No, nah, even going back to what you said about the travel, like last year we had basically no travel. It was just a 2 hour drive or an hour 45 drive for me to Dublin, and then an hour 45 drive home. There's no excuses at all. You should be running so much better then compared to the conditions and the travel that we had in Italy, but that just doesn't happen. So that's what I mean about, like, it doesn't matter. That's why it's such a weird sport, because nothing ever adds up. Like theoretically, I should have been running so much better in Dublin with a home crowd as well, and all that playing into account compared to this year. And it just went the exact opposite way. But yeah, that's why the travel is not really an excuse. Like, it's not ideal, but I don't ever like to give an excuse unless there is unless I'm injured or there's genuinely something at play. It's always just like you always just have to take accountability for your race. But yeah, going on to the course, I didn't like it at first. Whenever I heard it was going to be really hilly, in my head, I am a flat track guy. But again, I don't think I'm actually that bad over hills. It's just I like to just play it in my head like I am awful and I'm just good on track. But because it almost gives me like a wee mental relax for cross country. Because if I don't run well, I'm like, oh well, you're a track guy anyway, so who cares? But yeah, the day before we ran the course, it was really, really mucky. Like they weren't letting you in the course because we were mucking it up. And I remember going up like the steep bits, and you could barely get up it. I wasn't in spikes, to be fair, but it was so mucky, and that really just doesn't suit me at all. Like, I think we just figured out the way like my form is, or the way my feet like hit the ground. It's like very firm, so I'd like sink in the mud. But other guys like Dean and Christensen and stuff like that just float over the mud like it's absolutely nothing. But I'm like the opposite. I just sink in it. So I remember thinking the day before, this course is hilly and it's muddy. Like, it couldn't have been any worse for me if I tried. And then, thankfully enough, on the day, I actually like iced over. So yeah, it ended up being all right. Like, I remember coming up the hill, and like we weren't going quick up the hill. Like, I just remember thinking, we are walking up this hill, but obviously you're going to walk up a hill like that steep. Like, it's so steep and long. You're obviously not going to go faster. But it was literally in my head. The entire race was just like, make it up the hill, try and feel as smooth as possible, and then you can get to relax and just stick with them in the downhills. And then on the flat, they're obviously going to slow a wee bit. So I actually quite enjoyed the course. Like, it was a big change from anything I've ever ran on before. It was really hilly, and it was very icy, and it was all like the wee bit we went in the castle was interesting as well. But no, I really liked it, to be completely honest. I don't know what Sean and Keelan were saying about it, but I did but then again, the ice that I was saying suited me quite well because it made the ground quite firm. I remember watching back, like I've watched the race back since, because I just like, I like to watch back and see what could I have done better, this, that, and the other. And down the finish, there's like a wee patch of ice, and it's exactly where I stumble. And I'm like, obviously it's not the ice's or the ground's fault. It's a wee bit of play, but obviously I was there as well. Like I was obviously absolutely dying, and I was looking over my shoulder a bit too much. If I had just focused, that type of thing, I would have won. But again, you look back in hindsight, and there's so much you could change. But yeah, you just have to cope with it, and it's tough to look back on a race that you had won. Like looking back, I was like, oh, I had that one. I was 20 meters clear. Just needed to not lose my head and just stay focused, and I would have been fine. But again, that didn't happen. And again, that's happened for a reason. You just have to. I like to believe that everything happens for a reason, so I don't beat myself up about it. Just be like, you can do better. Just get back into training and don't let it happen again, type of thing.
Definitely, yeah. But as when you say, running on any, I suppose, patch of ice, especially in spikes, it's not going to be ideal. So as much as there may been a couple of things at play over the last couple of meters of race, stepping on an icy patch of the course, at the maybe the most vital part of the race, it's definitely not ideal.
Yeah.
But then kind of in terms of throughout the race, you kind of how'd that go for you? As you mentioned, the hill there, the really steep part. I know it was quite a gradual incline all the way up until the indoor, and then there was the really steep part that took many athletes races from under their feet. Many athletes had to drop out. So being able to take that hill anyway and finishing in any places is definitely impressive. So you had the hill, you had the indoor, and then you had Axel Van Christensen, who maybe some may say didn't race, or it is obvious to see he didn't race as well as he did in Dublin last year. And then you also had Dean Casey up. You guys running together from racing against each other in Donegal to running as teammates in Ireland. So kind of those few aspects, how did they affect, or what role did they play into your race?
Yeah, like I remember starting off and I just was like getting a decent position, but I don't want to go off flying. And then I just happened to find, in my head, it was kind of like, I talked to Mark about it a wee bit, and we're like, there's no point in not going off and just absolutely giving it everything. Because sometimes I feel with cross country, my head is like, I want to be a bit conservative, but you can't be conservative in a European Championships. You're not going to be allowed. The guys at the front are so good. European record holders and champions are not going to let you go off conservative. They're going to make you hurt from the start. So that was the decision in my head. Was like, right, either you go with them here and be brave, or just be a bitch. So, excuse my language, but either just be
You're grand.
and like sit in with a pack. So I thought, I'm not going to. I'm gonna give it everyone here. And yeah, like the hill, it was just more daunting in your head when you're actually like thinking about the race. You're like, this hill is gonna be awful, and it wasn't nice. But in my head, it was just at the start of every lap, just get up the hill, and if you're up the hill, just calm, concentrate, get your legs back to feeling somewhat normal, and then just go again. So yeah, the course was brutal. Like I remember even after the first half a lap, honestly I can't even remember his first name. It's Abdul Rabi. So disrespectful that I don't know his full name, but I just know him as Robbie. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But he wasn't even with us. Like I remember, it was like he should be here. And after like the first half lap, he wasn't, and after the first lap, he wasn't. And I was like, where is this guy? Like, and then I didn't see him like the entire race. I was like, I don't know what's happened to him. And then Christensen, I can remember going up the hill. It was me, Joel, Will, and him, and going up that hill. I rode. It was in the third lap. Like I got up the hill first, and I was like, "Why am I? I don't want to be in the lead. I want to be sitting in." So I like looked over to Joel. I was like, "Right, I'm just gonna let him take the inside there because I don't want to be in the lead. I want to be sitting right in behind him." And then I didn't see Christensen again, so I thought, I don't know. I just assumed, like, as much as you want to be like, "Oh, I thought I was going to win. I thought I was going to do this." I didn't at all. I thought Christensen. My honest opinion was I thought he was going to absolutely dominate it, and I thought the course suited him as well because I think he just has that style where he looks so good over the mud and over cross, and I thought the hills and all would just completely suit him, but it turns out it didn't, and I remember thinking, well, if he's gone now, like you have I have a real chance here, and even going back like a lap or two in, we were 2 laps in, and there was 4 of us, and I was like, if I'm here with Joel and Axel, like I could have really misjudged this. I was thinking, I'm gonna have the race of my life here, or I'm gonna misjudge it and absolutely die. And then once he died and we got like round to complete the third lap, I was thinking, right, there's actually a real chance here. And like I didn't want to look behind me because I heard the commentary coming into the last lap, and I heard them saying that they were catching, and like Sam Mills was only 4 seconds behind or something. I was like, right, you just have to accept. You can't slack now, like you can. And then Joel started to back off. I was like, right, you have to make a decision whether to go with Joel or whether to go with Will, or stay with Joel. And then, like, as you said, Dean had such an unbelievable performance, but I didn't even realize he was having it because I wasn't trying to look over my shoulder, and like I didn't realize until we were in the mix zone that Dean had came third. Like I genuinely didn't know because obviously then we got me and Will got up the hill and I attacked on that downhill. And again, like I have no regrets about the race. Mark said to me just to all of us, even like all the Irish ones, he said just lash it on the downhill and your legs are going to be absolutely gone when it comes to the home straight, where you just have to just keep going. It's only like 80 meters or something, and yeah, like it didn't play out for the best for me in the end. But again, I can't really be mad with silver. And then I remember finishing, and I was just so like wrecked. Obviously, I was mentally disappointed and gutted as well, but I was so physically destroyed. And I didn't realize Dean. I remember Dean coming over to me, but I just didn't cop on that he got bronze until we like. Like I was still probably hanging over the rails or something, dying, and someone said, Dean came third." And I was like, "What?" Like I just didn't realize. Like I just thought Joel would have got third or something because he was so. I just assumed he was so far ahead. But yeah, that was again an unbelievable run from Dean. Like, and I'm sure I know he was delighted as well. And it was nice to see him get an individual bronze, and for me and him to help Team Ireland to silver. But we got a bit unlucky with a team race. I think like Sean had such a good race, but still we got 17 points. I don't know exactly what we got last year. Like we got 34 or 35 or something, and we came second. And GB got 33. I think GB got 33, we got 34, and Israel got 35. So we came second by a point. And this year we halved our points, and we're still like 6 or 7 points off the win. So it just shows like even the quality of distance running in Ireland is improving so much. And like even with that performance, like we all ran out of our skin to place and to come get 17 points, and still it wasn't enough to win. So that's kind of heartbreaking. But again, it was lovely to help that team into getting a silver medal.
Definitely. And what was the atmosphere like within the team, when you found out that you got 17 points and still came second? Any other year that would have gotten gold, and like yourself, just missing out on the gold place in terms of an individual performance. So what was the atmosphere like within the team? Was it a little bittersweet where, and there's also some people that there was their first European cross with the team, so they were first really happy to be there, and then to get a medal on top of that as a plus for them? Or was there a general sense around the team, just maybe everyone was really happy, everyone thought it was a little bit bittersweet? Kind of what was the atmosphere like within the team?
Yeah, at the time, like after the race, I was suffering so badly. Like I was in the medical tent. Like it was probably the worst I've ever been after a race in terms of like I was vomiting. I just felt atrocious. Like my head was killing me, and I couldn't keep any drink, like any electrolytes or anything down, or I would just vomit everywhere. So for a while, like I couldn't really talk to them, like because they were all away and I was in the medical tent. And like it's not something you want to do after a race. You want to go and celebrate with your team and like be proud with them, but I physically couldn't. Like I was in such bad shape, I just had to sit there, and just I was absolutely fighting for my life. Like so, but then by the time I got out and to actually talk to them, I had to do an interview or two when I was leaving, and by that time it was the medal ceremony. Like I only left the tent because Mark said to me like, "Here, we need to go because the medal ceremony's happening now." And I was just luckily enough, I was in good enough condition where I could actually go, and get present the medals. But yeah, whenever I did see them, everyone was buzzing. Like there wasn't a like I was probably the most disappointed there, but that's because I'd come so close to gold and to just miss out like that, I was devastated. But again, I was buzzing for them, and then once my head settled a wee bit, and I couldn't be disappointed, and I was on the podium, and I was buzzing, to be back on a European podium after such disappointment last year. I couldn't really complain, but I think we all just accepted, like everyone had an unbelievable performance. We all ran out of our skin, and we still didn't win, which is you can't do anything at the end of the day. Like if one of us underperformed and we lost by that many points, it would be disappointing. Like last year, I felt some of the blame because I feel like I ran badly last year and we only missed out on a point. So I feel like we should have won last year, and that was my fault. But yeah, I don't think anybody was disappointed with a silver. You can't ask for any more. Whenever GB are having 10 points, like they had 1, 4, and 5. There's nothing you physically can't do anything about that. You just have to accept that they were unbelievable and they were better on a day, and we still, all of us, ran really well. And a silver is definitely warranted for our performances. So yeah, as much as it was a bit frustrating individually, especially, and as a team, we were just like, we gave it our all. There's nothing else we can do. And everyone was buzzing with it.
100%. If you were to give any other runner out there in Ireland a European silver medal, they would take it in a heartbeat. And
Yeah, yeah.
like you mentioned earlier, everything happens for a reason. Yeah, you got second, just missed out on first, but now you're just more hungry to get back next year to claim the gold.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. And that's what happens. You need those wee, as much as it's frustrating, and it's like, if she just didn't do this, didn't do that, but you can't dwell on it because you can't fix the past. You know what I mean? You can't change the past. There's no matter what I do, I can't go back and change that race. And as much as I want to, it's physically impossible. Like, so you just have to keep looking forward, and it lets me know that I'm in really good shape, and I just have to build on that for indoors, and it just makes me even more hungry, for this upcoming season to try and do better and win and break records and all that. So yeah, it's been a good and a bad thing, like, but you have to just take the positives from the situation, like.
100% no, and hopefully it does translate positively into your coming indoor season, whether that's making a European senior team, whether that's breaking more under 20 records, and whether that's claiming national titles at a junior or a senior level. We'll all be cheering you on and wishing the best of luck. But Nick, I do really appreciate you coming on the podcast and having the chat. It's great to get a little bit of an insight into what it's like for an athlete of your age, but also an athlete at the top of their game at a junior and senior level, and definitely big things to come in the future. So we'll definitely be cheering you on. But I do appreciate you coming on.
100%. Thank you very much. Anytime.
No worries at all. And for definitely in the future when you're racking up Olympic medals, some more European medals, some hopefully world medals as well, we'll have you back on 100%.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No problem, and I'm sure I'll see you at the races as well. Catch you in a couple post race interviews as well.
Hopefully, it's right. Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. And for everyone watching and listening at home, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.